All right, so Senator Loomis tweets, and so it begins with that Bitcoin symbol and like everyone's freaking out.
Yeah.
It's all about this Senate hearing that's coming up February 26th.
Mm-hmm.
The title is a mouthful, exploring bipartisan legislative frameworks for digital assets.
Right.
Sounds super boring, right? But like this could actually change how the U.S. deals with cryptocurrency like forever.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So what we're talking about today is like, what if the U.S. starts treating Bitcoin like it's the new gold, like building up this huge reserve, 1 million Bitcoins, you know?
That's a bold idea.
Yeah.
It is, Senator Loomis is talking about this strategic Bitcoin reserve thing.
Why,
it's like a really long-term plan.
Okay.
Building it up over 20 years.
So 1 million Bitcoins over 2 decades.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so help me understand, like, why are we even talking about Bitcoin as like this kind of national asset thing?
So it really comes down to this idea of safe haven assets.
Okay.
You know, the classic example everyone always uses is gold. When the economy is like, you know, a little shaky,
Right.
people run to gold because they're like, okay, this is going to hold its value.
Yeah.
And the argument is that Bitcoin can basically do the same thing, but for like the digital world.
It's like digital gold or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's only a limited amount of it, right?
Right. Just like gold.
Okay.
Bitcoin has a limited supply.
Got it.
And another big thing is it's decentralized.
Right.
No government, no bank controls it.
Mm.
And that's really appealing to a lot of people who are like kind of nervous about traditional money stuff.
Yeah, especially with like inflation and all that.
Exactly.
So the idea is that like if the dollar starts to, you know, like go downhill,
Right.
Bitcoin could be like the backup plan for the U.S.
Yeah, like a safety net for the whole economy.
Whoa.
And some people are taking this idea even further.
Really?
You've got Michael Saylor.
Okay, yeah.
He's the CEO of MicroStrategy.
Right.
He's been buying tons of Bitcoin.
Yeah, he's like all in on Bitcoin.
Yeah. And he's actually saying that the U.S. could make like 50 to 80 trillion dollars. Trillion with the T.
Oh my God.
By getting a ton of Bitcoin.
Hold on, wait.
He's talking 4 to 6 million coins.
50 to 80 trillion. That's insane. How does he even come up with that?
So he's basically picturing this world where the U.S. owning a huge chunk of Bitcoin gives us like crazy power in this new digital economy.
Okay.
It's like back in the day when controlling all the oil was like the big power move.
Right.
He thinks it could like wipe out our national debt.
Wow.
Maybe even make the dollar stronger and basically make the U.S. like the king of the crypto world.
Okay, so it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
But there's got to be some downsides, right? Like nothing's that perfect.
Of course there are risks too.
Yeah.
I mean, Bitcoin is famous for being really volatile.
Right.
The price can go up and down like crazy.
The roller coaster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a gamble.
Okay.
And then there's security, you know.
Right. All the hacks and stuff.
Exactly. We hear about these huge hacks all the time.
Yeah.
And then what about the rest of the financial system?
Right. Like the banks and stuff.
Yeah. Banks, investment firms, what happens to them?
And regular people too, right?
Exactly. If everything suddenly shifts to crypto.
I don't know. It feels less like a question of if and more like when and what happens next.
Yes.
So like, are there historical examples of this kind of thing?
Yeah, of course. Countries have always hoarded stuff, right?
Like gold and oil?
Exactly. Gold, oil, all sorts of things.
Okay.
But Bitcoin is a completely different beast.
In what way?
I mean, it's totally digital.
Right.
And its value isn't tied to anything like physical.
Right.
It's this weird mix of technology, how people feel about it,
Right.
and something called network effects.
Okay.
Which basically means the more people use it, the more valuable it becomes.
Like Facebook or the internet or something.
Right, exactly.
So let's say the U.S. actually does this whole Bitcoin reserve thing.
Mm-hmm.
What happens?
Well, first of all, just imagine what happens to the price of Bitcoin. The
Yeah.
U.S. government, the biggest economy in the world,
Right.
starts buying millions of coins. The price is going to skyrocket.
Wow.
Like, we could see a massive crypto boom.
So this would like affect the whole world, right?
Absolutely. Other countries might freak out and feel like they have to buy Bitcoin too.
Oh, wow.
It could turn into this like digital arms race.
Oh, my God.
And that could really speed up the whole world moving towards using crypto, which would like completely change global trade and finance and everything.
So what about regular people?
Mm-hmm.
Like people just, using dollars every day to buy groceries and stuff.
Right.
What happens to them?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say what would happen in the long run.
Yeah.
Some people say it could give people more financial freedom and more access to opportunities, especially for people who don't have bank accounts or whatever.
Sure.
But there are also concerns about like instability and risks.
Right, because it's still new.
Exactly. The whole crypto system is still developing.
So basically, we're either talking about like the biggest economic shift ever, like a global revolution, or maybe like a huge gamble that could go really wrong.
It's definitely a big deal.
Yeah.
This Senate hearing could be a huge turning point for how the U.S. deals with digital assets.
I'm a little nervous to see what happens, honestly.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
It really is. Okay, so one last thing to think about.
Okay.
If this actually happens, if the U.S. actually creates this Bitcoin reserve, are we like watching the beginning of a whole new global financial system?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's something to think about.
It is.
While we see how this whole thing plays out.
Definitely.
All right, well, that's our deep dive for today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on.